sur mon chemin, comme je suis bien, sans mes tracas.
You are now listening to Femme Regard Podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme.
Hey, fam. Welcome to our finale episode of season 16. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are new listeners, we've got, 16 seasons of content for you guys to check back on. We have so many amazing guests over the years. We've been doing this since 2019. And if you guys have been listening the whole time, thank you so much. We have another amazing season coming up very soon. We'll see. There might be like a week or two break, we'll see. But yeah, we're going to be continuing to roll them out. We need a break. Sometimes we need a break, but we want to keep bringing you guys content pretty regularly. So be on the lookout for that. We've already got one really great guest lined up for next season. And I just want to kind of recap a little bit of what we've been up to. So you guys are going to be listening to this mid-January. So we will have just wrapped our crowdfunding campaign to raise funds for Post. But while we're recording this right now, we're still in it. So we just want to big shout out, big thank you to you guys. We know so many of you have contributed. If you weren't able to contribute, but you shared, it's all so appreciated. You don't understand how much this means to us. Your support has really we couldn't have made this movie without you. Honestly, seriously, we could not have done it.
1000%.
Yes. So thank you guys. And every penny is going to be put to good use. And we're really excited to wrap up Post and start post. So marketing, film festivals, distribution, all that good stuff. And don't worry, we will keep you updated on that. Again, if you are a new listener, you can follow all of our progress on social media at FemRegard and at Sync the Movie on Instagram. We're also on Facebook, FemRegard Productions. We're on TikTok, FemRegard TV. And all of these episodes are, of course, on all the major platforms. If you guys are listening on anything other than Apple because you couldn't find us on Apple, don't worry, we fixed it. So just so you guys know, the old show is deleted. So we basically created a whole new show on Apple. So if you are following the old show, just unfollow that and search for Femme Regard Podcast. The new show will be the only one that pops up in the search now. So just follow the new show. And that also means that all of our beautiful rates and reviews are gone. So please, you guys, if you have a moment, just rate us on Apple, leave a little review. Just a sentence or two would be fabulous. It really boosts us in their algorithm so that we can get more new followers and someday be featured on the homepage. Wouldn't that be amazing? And also, if you guys are not listening on Spotify yet, we encourage you to head over there because all these episodes are going to be video episodes on Spotify. We already do video episodes on YouTube, but Spotify's new feature allows us to do it there too. So you guys have so many options to watch us and listen to us and follow along on our journey. And one more thing we want to let you guys know about, if you're not already aware, is that we also have a Patreon. So yes, we're not making money from this podcast, and it does cost us to produce it, as well as all the amazing projects that we make. So your generous donations through Patreon for as little as $5 a month really help us. And, it's that little bit of extra income that keeps us from going broke doing all of this out of our own pockets. And you guys get some really amazing rewards in exchange. We just presented in a webinar with LA Creative Circle, and while the video is available to watch on their YouTube, we have the actual presentation that will be exclusive for our Patreon subscribers. So if you want to get really cool, behind the scenes and documents and all kinds of stuff, make sure you sign up on there. Just find us Femme Regard on patreon.com. And thank you guys so much for your support.
I just want to mention the webinar was on film fundraising. So we really break down how we were able to fundraise Sync through your generous donations. But there was so much work that went behind that. I know those of you who did contribute know that. I mean, you could probably tell by the effort that we put into really allowing to share our project. And there's just so many different ways to go about film funding and specifically crowdfunding. So we really break down that in that presentation that our patrons will receive. We've also broken down things like creating a line budget breakdown, that can be very overwhelming for new time filmmakers. So it's nice, like we give our actual budget rates. We really break it down, and we also compare it to what an average budget would be like for a low budget feature, guys. Of course, we're not doing $1 million breakdown, which is still low budget in this industry. But for, you know, us indie filmmakers who are trying to do it on a shoestring budget, but still, you know, a generous amount like ours, that can really create something like a feature. We break down those rates there and kind of how we were able to even come up with those costs. So that one's a really good one. We have a catering budget breakdown because in your budget, you're going to have all these like micro budgets that you're trying to facilitate, like different crew members are needed for a different amount of days. Same thing with catering. It's like a different kind of budget that you're breaking down. So those are just to give you an idea of what those exclusives are. We really try to, when we do drop something, you know, we do our best to do it every month, but sometimes we are filming and we are then trying to come back and give you something that's like very resourceful and can help you on your future productions. So if you aren't a Patreon subscriber yet, again, head on over to patreon.com/FemRegard. And I really want to hear more from you guys. We have one Patreon, our super fan, let's shout out Parker Clemens, who has just been a wonderful champion of us. And we try, you know, they're now an associate producer on Sync. So it's relationships like that that we really do cherish and want to hear that, you know, what we are providing is working, because we're what our mission is with this podcast is to connect, is to share, and is to grow together. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that. And also where we drop kind of, you know, upcoming events like this webinar and other exclusives or things that are happening around or what's going on with Sync is our newsletter. So if you're not a subscriber yet to our monthly newsletter, please head on over to our website. There's many little pop-ups to join. Just do it, guys. We really try to find free events and free resources to throw your way. So appreciate everyone too who's been following our journey along there.
Yeah, our website, by the way, if you don't already know, is femregard.com. Pretty simple, pretty easy. You just head to the homepage and a little pop-up will happen where you can enter in your email to join our newsletter. Where Carolina said, you know, we have a lot of free events on there. We also have like discount codes for stuff and classes that are coming up. And, you know, if you're already part of the community and you want to share something, you know, a show you're in or a class you're providing, whatever, like we share that. We love to promote our fam. So always let us know and join us on this little journey and get some freebies.
Yes, we are here to give out the freebies because we know how much everything else costs to invest in yourself, as they say in this industry. Just invest in yourself. It's like, yeah, so easy. And I do think there are things you will find that are going to be resourceful tools. And again, what we try to do in all these breakdowns is tell you where to spend the money, where it really matters. Like whether it's, you know, this specific team member, this specific equipment, this is all stuff we're learning. So yeah, but freebies, we love to hand out.
Yes.
We are recording this episode at the beginning of December. I think it's December 11th today, maybe the 10th, somewhere around there. It's the 12th. So that's how it's been going. We know what day it is. I had to ask my coworker twice today. Is it Wednesday or is it Tuesday? Because I don't know about you, Tessa, but yeah, it's been like crazy town from November through to December, the holidays. I'm been working overtime on the Aquaman campaign here at work, and while I'm working overtime on the weekends for them, I'm looking at edits for Sync and trying to give back notes and keep everything on time, which we are pleased to announce that we are managing it. We are staying on track. We've done assembly cut, we've done a first pass, and now I just received our second pass. I watched it this past weekend, gave our editor our notes, and him and I actually have a meeting tonight to do another in-person session. So those are really exciting and fun because there's certain things you'll find when you're reviewing that you're like, I think I want to do this, but I don't know if I can actually, I don't know if I'm going to like it. So it's nice to sometimes instantly work out those moments when you're like, can we cut this part out? Or maybe I do like it and I want to keep it in. So it's nice to have in-person sessions from time to time to like work out those kinks. And also if it's just something super kind of complicated that you just need to spend time together on it, you know? I think it gives you that chance to collaborate further, essentially. Be like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. You understand what I'm saying. This are just some things you can't write in a whole doc. Like then I'm writing a novel and you want to keep your notes clear, simple. I always timestamp mine. So I just work off of a Google Doc, y'all. I put in every time there's a note, I put in what we call like, the timestamp and the runtime. And then we're able to both know exactly what I'm talking about and keep it simple and clear, because if it's something else, I've just written back, let's talk about this more in person. Because you don't want to overwhelm your editor and you want to be able to like give them clear, simple instructions. And Adam's been so great about that. You know, I really feel like, again, every cut we get back, we're seeing the notes being used, we're seeing the changes, and I saw like in this last pass areas that he chose to kind of expand a little, meaning like the moment more. I think he's playing with that timing, and it's been nice to see like, yeah, like let this shot breathe a little bit more, you know, so we can kind of sink in. I really like watching that develop.
I think that goes to show like how important it is when you're hiring an editor to make sure that it's someone that, you know, is able to share your vision and you can have good communication with. So before you actually sign on with them, to like have that meeting, like we did like a Zoom meeting to just kind of get to know each other and make sure we were all on the same page. Because, you know, as the director, unless you're editing it yourself, you're not going to be in the editing bay all the time. And, you know, some directors might be like, listen, hands off, like, here's the footage, here's the takes I want, you go for it. But most directors want to have a hand in it, right? And so it's difficult, like you're saying, Carolina, to just kind of put it all, you know, in a typed out document. Like sometimes you really need to explain and talk it out with the editor. And it's difficult to make that happen all the time. So having these check-in meetings is great, and having that clear communication and knowing that they're going to be receiving what you're giving them and understanding what you mean. That's really important to know from the very get-go.
Yeah, that's very important to highlight, because I feel that if you have an editor who's not communicating, who's, you know, ignoring your notes, is like, you know, just off the bat, those are red flags. You should maybe consider terminating versus waiting out till the third pass of your film and you're like, I'm still not happy. They're not communicating with me. They're not, you know, evolving with me. So I definitely think like, because you could have a great interview and maybe they don't end up living up to the expectations that were set, right? So we had a great meeting with Adam, right? But I was still so nervous about it because there are just some experience things, but aside from that, and he is very experienced, but this is his first feature. But just aside from that, it's like, I've never worked with this person before, right? And we're putting that, you guys know, we've talked about this so many times on this show, that the editing makes the project. It really all starts to come together in the editing room. You could turn crap into magic, essentially, which that's not what it was done here, but you can really make something shine, or you could actually just
ruin it.
Like ruin it, honestly. Yeah. So I think we were lucky. We had several great chats. Tessa, we spent like months talking to editors, and you know, we really felt good about him, but still, like, it was nerve-wracking. And so to see him confidently meet deadlines and expectations, communicate if there's going to be delays. I mean, we're low budget here. We said from the beginning, and also it's on our timeline. We don't have a distributor like deadline right now. That it's okay if you're going to be running a bit late. Just let us know, because my whole thing is I'd rather see your best work than rushed work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's been really great to see that. If there was a weekend he wanted a few more extra days, it's like he communicated that. And that's really important. And I think if you're feeling you're stuck with an editor who's not giving you those responses, maybe give them the editor cut.
And I think that goes to even, if you're editing your own work, like if it's a short or if you actually are an editor and you're editing a full feature, whatever it is, like give yourself that grace as well, because I know we self-impose deadlines sometimes that are like, we want to get it done and we want to accomplish it and we, don't want to procrastinate, but sometimes that literally like drives us crazy and it's not our best work and you can't run yourself down like that. So, if you don't have a deadline to meet for a distributor, for instance, or something like that, like give yourself that grace. If you're running into some trouble, set it aside for a minute. I mean, we did that, like we've mentioned before, with our first short, Desert Flowers. Like we tried to edit it. We found that we just weren't ready for that level of editing yet. And we put it aside for like a while, like a year, and like learned some more about editing and then revisited it. And I'm so glad that we did that because I think it turned out better than we ever could have done at that time. So just a healthy reminder.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And I feel that I'm still like struggling in this time, in this specific season of the year right now with this next cut. I want to make sure that wherever we leave off before holiday break, quote unquote, that I feel like, okay, are we really there yet for the next, like, which is going to be close to final, or let's take a break. Let's then have like our composer come in, like do all those kinds of things to then see if we feel really good moving forward. Because like you said, Tessa, I don't want to rush the process just to meet a deadline that we just set for ourselves. So I'm excited to see where this ends up, but give the grace. We can have Christmas, right? That's possible. I mean, even our composer was saying the same thing. She was on a couple other projects and then was feeling the weight of holiday season and then sync. And I said the same thing. I'm like, I rather get your best work. So if you need it, like an extension, give it to us. And we're happy to work with that. I feel like what you said is so true. Give yourself the grace if you need it, because if you're setting your own deadlines, like it's great to meet them, but you got to let the project breathe sometimes and revisit it with fresh eyes.
Yeah. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about working with our composer too, because I know a lot of people have probably worked with editors, but not as far as worked with a composer. So if we can just talk a little bit about that experience and how that's been and how you guys have communicated, I know the meeting that I was in, we kind of watched through it together so we could hear and see these moments and talk it out with her.
Yes, I would love to touch on that a bit more. And it was really great. That was actually a perk that we gave to our backers who had donated to the post-production fund, was kind of this exclusive session of us going through the music and parts of sync. So the way it worked was Adam, our editor, he went ahead and in the very first cut already, he provided us what was called temp music. So it's stuff he was able to pull from music service platforms that you can actually buy the music, but some of them are free downloads and some are live. There's just so many different libraries, and most editors have access to those libraries or own those music. So he was able to put in temp and just to kind of go along with creating that feeling that we are looking for, right, to help give to the composer. He also added in what do we call it, sound effects and atmosphere. So that is more on the editor side than it is for the composer, which was a distinction, Tessa. I don't know if you felt the same, that I didn't really understand fully before, like what of the music and atmosphere would Adele, our composer, do, and what would Adam do.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's a collaboration of both. Adele can definitely add atmosphere, but if we like the kind of temp atmospheric drone sounds. We have so many drone sounds, which is like the classic sci-fi thriller. I'm doing a terrible job. Don't listen to me. But you guys might get it. It's like a vibrational, like droney sound throughout the feature. And that was something, Adele's like, well, if you want me to recreate it, I can, but this works. Or sometimes she even, during the session that Tessa was on, we just asked her to like amplify it, like add more, I say add more sauce to it, add more pasta sauce to it and get it spicier. So we could really get the feel of the film.
Yeah. By the way, guys, if you are looking for temp music and stuff like that to license music, not even temp, but any music to license for a project, jambox.io is a company that we've worked with in the past that we really love, and we have discount codes for. So if you're interested, hit us up and we can share that with you.
Yes, exactly. There's so many different ways, and they're an amazing platform to use. So especially if you don't have access or can't afford an actual composer, that's a great resource. And we're fortunate to have Adele on this project. And so basically what Adele does, she does a sampling of music. And so what she gave us initially back in September was 3 tracks for, one for the black void scenes, as we call them, one for kind of like daytime, and the other, maybe it was just those 2 actually. But what she did in those files is kind of the same kind of sounds, but different tempos, maybe a little different acoustics here and there. And I was able to tell her, like, I loved minute 1 of the Black Void sequence. Minute 2 was great, maybe for more, because it was faster, maybe for more intense scenes. Third one, give or take. I don't know. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then same thing for the daytime scenes. I would give her tell her of the tempo, or I didn't like the drums, let's not use those. But she gave me some choices to work with, right? And then she used those selections and actually created, the kind of music for the scenes that they were called out to. So then what she did in this last cut, getting ready for this last cut of the film, she asked me to ask the editor, Adam, to send the film without his music, but I think she wanted me to leave in those atmospheric sounds so she can still see when those are being used, but take out all his temp music. So that's something your composer is going to probably ask for at some point, and your editor should be able to do that. And she was able to work off of what we call a long play file, so it was the full feature and not cut up in any way. But sometimes the composer will ask for reels, which is every 20 minutes about that, to send it off. And some composers may like to work like that, but Adele is easy breezy. So she's like, whatever you can do, that's great. So we sent her that. And what was really cool is what she sent back then to kind of show us what was worked on and what and how it works with the scenes, is she sent us back a Dropbox with the scenes that she had completed so far, one with the dialogue and one the same scene with dialogue and without dialogue. So you were able to really hear the music, but then also see how it works with dialogue on top. And that was brilliant. It was really cool to see, not having worked with a composer before, these are the different assets she's providing, something like that, plus a music cue sheet, which provides time codes in and out where all the music will be dropped in for the editor. So I'm throwing all this jargon, you could say, at you because it's important to kind of see what expectations, which we had never worked with anyone before, like at a professional level, what to expect. Because I'm all about, especially in my day job in post-production, all about trackers and having these really clear cuts, but I don't work with music. So it's kind of cool to see that she does implement still the same kind of workflow. Like, we're going to give you a clear outline. And yeah, that's kind of Tessa, I don't know if I'm like forgetting or there's a question you have burning, but those are kind of the things she's provided back, and she's now going to continue to give us more scenes. Again, send back the scenes with dialogue, without dialogue, and we will keep providing her with updated cuts, as we do, because the timing, has to match. So that's kind of what ends up getting fixed throughout, each cut.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. And then, we're hoping to complete post early next year. So around the time that you'll be listening to this episode, hopefully. A lot of you have been asking what our plan is once the movie is actually finished. So we have decided that we're kind of going to pursue whatever comes first. So we're going to do film festival submissions. We're also actively pursuing distribution right now. We're in talks with a couple of different companies, and we're flexible with that. We would like to do the festival route, but if distribution comes first, we're happy to let them head that for us, because we've learned that some distribution companies really do actually want a hand in that. Like they want to have the film premiere at a specific festival, or, they don't want to waste, quote unquote, a premiere at a smaller festival, or, anything like that. Plus, distribution also likes to head things like cutting a trailer, which we thought was going to be kind of all on our own shoulders. And turns out it may not have to be. So these are things that, it's kind of going to depend on how quickly these talks happen, how quickly we can secure something like that. But we're kind of pursuing everything at the same time, which can be overwhelming, but don't get overwhelmed, guys, honestly, because I think for us, what has helped us organize our thoughts on all of this is to really make a clear list of like, here are the things that we know we're going to need. Here are the things that we know we're going to have to provide. Here are the things that possibly could be, through the distribution company, for instance. And here's the route that we're taking to contact distribution, and just really like laying out, mapping it all out in a clear, like kind of to-do list form, I think has been really helpful for us to not feel overwhelmed by all the things that come after post. Because, as we mentioned with our crowdfunder, it all costs money and it's all a lot of work, but it works together more than we kind of realized in the beginning.
Yeah, to dive into that a little further. So after we get our final cut, as Tessa was saying, get to our final cut, which is what Tessa was saying around January, we're hoping to get to. So just to kind of go back a little bit. So after this pass, we're going to continue finalizing the music. Next, it's going to be the effects and color and really mastering the sound. So we still have our work cut out for us. And I don't want to rush anything until like we have it the way we're super happy to show this, because especially being so small and independent, something I'm learning is, when we were trying to raise for money for Sync and really see what shot we have at distribution, it's all about getting the star, the A-list actor, to be on the film to really sell it, which is so true. It definitely is, but it's not the only thing. You could have a star and still not get distribution. And one thing I really want us to be in the lead for is the quality of our film. David, our cinematographer, did such a beautiful job. It looks so amazing. I'm so happy with that. I have Adele making the best music. So, when it comes to color and VFX and really finalizing sound, I think we're going to have such a better chance of securing distribution once we are so happy with that final cut. And with that final cut, that is when we're able to continue having these conversations with distributors. So if any of you are thinking of starting those conversations, go right ahead. Like, definitely, we went ahead, introduced ourselves to a few, and they were all really excited about the genre. See, that's another big thing that can help sell your film. And they were also really interested in just what we had to offer you, really. And so they said, okay, when you're ready, just send us the screener link. So just know you probably won't be able to hard sell it until you do finish that film, but that's the only thing you need to kind of send off if you already have a conversation going. If you're finding you're not getting any conversations, maybe you do want to consider cutting a trailer or a sizzle to kind of further show off your film. but I think we're fortunate that we already kind of have, it sounds like they're down to watch the movie. So, pray for us. But that's really exciting. I mean, so one of them found us just through IMDb, and again, loved the genre that we were going for. And again, down to watch it once it's ready. So I think when it comes to, as Tessa was saying, what we're trying to do is, we're kind of doing it all. I personally feel at this time that distribution is what I'm most excited about, is really locking in a good deal and studying that a bit further. So, Patreons, again, hoping to give you guys more guidance on what we find out and some breakdowns, because as Tessa said, we got to stay organized, figure out what different deliverables are needed. The different festivals, even, if you have a worldwide premiere at one, you then technically sometimes can't show your film. I think this is for Sundance. If you premiere at Sundance, you can't show it at Cannes or anywhere else. And that can sometimes suck. You're like, wait, that's it? I can't show this film anywhere else? And I mean, if we already got distribution, then maybe we won't care. And Sundance is huge, so that's great. But you got to really see timing and kind of what is allowed, how it impacts your film and the way you're able to showcase it. Really study those details. So I know something I'm going to have more conversations with Tessa is like really outlining, okay, this one won't have, if you do it here, you can't have a worldwide premiere here. Here's our top festivals. Distribution, same thing, what exclusive rights do they have? Is it worldwide? All of that. So it's going to be a lot of work, but I think the clearer we know what we want out of it at the end of the day really does also impact the way we move forward. So I'm excited to kind of see what conversations we continue to have, understand that process a bit more. Still don't know everything at all, and we hope that talk to a lawyer, talk to your friends who have had successful distribution deals. Those are the kinds of things I think we're going to be doing in the next coming months to be prepared and make sure we're doing the best we can for the project.
Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. Just to research and make sure that you know the restrictions that have to deal with screening, festivals, distribution, as far as basically everybody wants to be the first to show your movie. And it's like, okay, well, we have to show it somewhere first. And who's going to say yes first? But also, do we hold out for this? So it's just something to be aware of. I know when we had first looked into festivals years ago, when we were first making our first project, the one thing that I was always aware of is okay, well, it's not supposed to be available on the internet, because a lot of festivals want to be the ones to premiere it, but it didn't have to necessarily, it could still conflict with another festival. They could both premiere it, quote unquote, as long as it wasn't available everywhere online or whatever, that was a lot of smaller festivals. The atmosphere is changing for that a little bit. Rules are kind of changing for that a little bit. And I'm finding now that it's a lot more the ones that want to premiere it want to be the one to premiere it. And the ones that don't care if they are the actual premiere will even let you have it online. So it's, a lot of things are changing. Just make sure you're reading all the rules and all of that sort of thing when you're submitting, especially for the big ones, because if you have a ton of laurels on your poster, sure, that looks great. But people are really looking to see oh, they were at Sundance, oh, they were at TIFF or whatever. The big ones, of course, is what matters to the big companies that you're going to look for distribution for. And, a lot of people also ask me oh, well, are you going to have a screening when it's finished, blah, blah, blah. And again, it's it would be so fun to have our own just big screening where all our friends and family and everybody can come. But that's going to conflict. That's going to be a premiere, so maybe we'll have a small little, cast and crew screening that flies under the radar. I don't know. We'll see. But just something, again, to be aware of with all of that. Everybody wants their hands on the first premiere of your movie, but you have to figure out really what's most important to you and what makes the most sense for your timeline. And, another thing to keep in mind too, is when you're submitting to festivals, it depends on the timeline of when your movie is finished, right? But if you have the flexibility to decide oh, I can film this, I know I want to film it next year, but I could film it any time of the year. It doesn't matter. Keep that in mind, how long is it going to take? When's your movie going to be done? Okay, when's it going to be ready for festivals? Because festival submissions are all year round, but different festivals are at different times. There's certainly times of the year that are more busy with like more deadlines. But a lot of festivals will accept projects that are up to like 3 years old, I believe, too. So, if you miss this round of festivals and festivals is really what's important to you, you can always still submit next year. Like your film isn't just dead in a year. So keep that in mind. Don't stress out too much about it. But yeah, prioritize what's most important to you.
Yeah, that is definitely the name of the game, the prioritization of like what you most want, because definitely some of those higher end, you know, elite festivals are going to have tighter deadlines and restrictions, as you were pointing out, and others are, yeah, up to 3 years, fine. But if you're like, oh, I need it in this one, then make sure you're really prepped and understand what comes into it, and also financially. I mean, if you are lucky and get in, most of the time they're going to ask for a DCP, which again is what I do at my day job. Is I make them. They're called a digital cinema package, and essentially it's a special package that allows your movie to be able to be played through a projector. So it won't, if you have your MP4 file or whatever, that is not going to work. That's not going to be able to be played at a theater. So those costs typically over $1,000, depending on the deal and the type of audio package you want. And that's something, that's why we're doing this post-production crowdfund, because those are things that will be on the horizon for us, fingers crossed, and we want to be prepared to, win all those awards and accolades. No, just kidding. Just be prepared, because a lot of this will end up coming out of our own pockets, and it can feel like a lot. But just understanding what that all entails. But I think as Tessa, we are proof of concept that we can get through not knowing anything about film and make a film. So, not going to film school, just throwing yourselves into it. You will survive. You will figure it out. It will cost a lot of money, but you will make it work. Because I think when you get to that point, it's so rare that you even make it, right? So of course you're going to be able to find a way to make everything else fall in place. So I think, as Tessa was saying, don't stress out too hard. Try to I think that's, what we're doing. We're trying to research and get plan and understand all the logistics, but it's okay if we also just kind of figure it out as it's happening, because it's going to be a lot, doing the multiple avenues and setting up meetings and figuring it all out. But it's exciting. I think that'll be a really fun time, because we will be at a place with Sync that we're proud to share and get it out there.
Yeah. And, that's what we're here for, guys. Like, we made this podcast to teach you guys what we've learned, through doing the process. And podcasts, books, mentors, all of that, you're not going to get all this stuff in a class. Classes are, I swear, they're just not meant to really get you in the business and know how to do it. They're about technicality and all that kind of stuff. Talking to people who actually are doing it is how you're going to learn, and by doing it yourself. Yeah. Because no matter how much advice that people can give you, that's going to prepare you. You're going to go into it feeling like, okay, I can do this. But something's going to go awry. That is just the business. That's how it is. So you're never going to really fully learn until you are in the trenches doing it. But yeah, feel free to ask us, ask anybody that you consider, a mentor that you look up to in this business. Ask for advice. If you have questions, ask them. Even if you're I don't even know what question to ask. Here's where I'm stuck at this point. Feel free to reach out. That's what we're here for. And we want to help you guys, because I think if
you've supported us.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, because you support us. We want to support you. And I think if we knew all of this going into it too, we just didn't even know what we didn't know,
So true. And that's absolutely the best way to get answers. And once we start hearing back or getting closer to making other decisions, you bet we're going to ask our colleagues, hey, have you worked with this company? What's this reputation? It's all about that in this business is sharing, and not everyone's the same and wants to be as forthcoming with information, but I do find our LA circle here, everyone is so willing to help each other out, because I mean it's awesome to see your friends succeed, and it's just great to connect in that way. So as Tessa said, we are here to help in any way we can. We are not experts yet, but I'm excited to really delve into this next part of Sync. But for the moment, enjoy where we're at and make it the best that we can.
Yes. So thank you, fam, for listening. Again, make sure you're following us on social media at Femme Regard and at Sync the Movie. We got the Patreon, we got the newsletter, all sorts of things where you can follow along on our journey and learn more. And always feel free to reach out to us. You can email us, you can DM us. If you want to come on the show, if you have a suggestion for a guest, we're always open to that. If you have any sort of questions, just want to connect, we're here for it.
Yay, guys. Hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Are excited for the next year. I think it's always a great time to reflect on your goals and what projects you want to do. So I'm really also looking forward to that as we head into the new year, just a time to refresh, reset, and just kind of plan out, like, what do you really want to create? What are you excited about? And hopefully that is after you had many chocolate chip holiday type cookies and beverages of sorts, and time with the family, because that's so important, like making that time. There's times where I'm like, yep, I just need to have a glass of wine with the fam and the projects will be okay. So make sure you give yourself that time. So we hope you did. We hope you are well rested and ready to start this new year fresh and with exciting projects. Please share with us. We always want to know what everyone's working on. And stay tuned for the next season. We might be on a little break managing all of these things. But again, we told y'all where to find us, how to stay in touch. So we are so excited to tune in to you guys again, or for you to tune in to us again and let you know where we're at.
Until next time, fam.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Femme Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.